Welcome to this session, MobyMax Early Reading Trio. I'm Robin Dixon, and I will be your tour guide on this session today. Today, we will explore the Early Reading Trio and the 3 programs that comprise it. This is a program that your earliest readers can use to improve their literacy and writing skills. To access the program, students will go into MobyMax and go to their home screen, which looks just like mine. And in order to access this program, students will work in the very first tab right across here. It's the 3 tall books and 1 that is sideways. And then students will look for the program that says Early Reading Trio. Mine is right here in the 4th row, 3rd over. It says Early Reading Trio at the bottom, and it is a magenta square with 3 books inside. Students will simply click that icon, and it will take them to the program. And the first component, as you saw on the screen, is Early Words. When students log in to Early Words, they will see a screen that looks just like this, and it says, Let's Go. So students will know that they can get into the program by seeing those words. Down at the bottom, you'll see a green ovalous shape button with an arrow. That is the signal for students to know that they can move on to the very next slide in the program.
A. D. Dad.
So you will notice that in this program, the auditory component is extremely important in this program, as they are going to be listening to sounds in words. So what students are going to do is find the correct letter
D.
to make that word.
A. D. Dad. Am.
So let's see what happens if I choose incorrectly.
Yeah.
So you'll notice if the student chooses incorrectly, it simply moves it back to the original screen until the correct answer is chosen.
Am. A. V. W.
So notice that students can click on the letters to hear the sounds.
A. Ant.
And again, students can listen to the sounds before choosing.
A. Ant. Dad.
So notice
Am. A. Ant.
Dad is big.
So notice that we moved to early stories. So early stories is going to take those words and apply them in the context of a sentence. It begins by reviewing the words, and then students will then choose the word to complete a sentence.
Dad.
So let's
Dad.
click this up here.
I am small.
So if the student answers correctly, notice that it moves on to the next choice. But let's see what happens if an incorrect choice is selected by a student. It simply moves it down until the correct word is chosen.
He is a bear.
A.
An ant is small too.
Let's see. Incorrect answer moves it back down
Ant.
until the correct answer is chosen.
Dad is big. I am small. He is a bear. An ant is small too.
So notice after early words, students are taken to the last section of the program called early writing. And students will take what they have learned in the previous lessons to complete a short story. So you'll see icons down at the bottom that are related to the story. And so students can choose a picture and then write a story that goes with that picture.
Dad.
And notice that it reads the word so students can also hear the story that they are writing.
Is.
And the other thing that I love is notice that it puts in the punctuation as well for the student.
A. Man.
So once the story is written, students will then click the next arrow to move on to the next slide if they have the sentence just the way they want it.
Dad is a man.
It will read the sentence that the student just created. And the student has earned 5 seconds of game time.
Dan. Dan.
So you will notice that we have looped back around to early words.
R.
And so this will continue through early words. And the remaining cycle of the programs.
R. Ooh. All. Ooh.
And notice there was a picture with the word that also gave a clue.
All. Bag. Bag. Dan. R. All. Bag.
Dan likes me.
So again, notice how it is working through the program in the same format. We look at words, stories, and then we continue on with writing. And within the program, under the teacher feature, you do have the ability to change some features within the program for students, and we will look at that in just a brief moment. And let's review some icons at the top before we move to the teacher view. So we have the zoom button so students can zoom in. Students can also see how much time they have worked in the program and how much of that was focused. We would expect those to be very close. Mine looks a little bit different because I've stopped and talked to you along the way. So mine will look a little bit different. And then students can click the home button and it will take students back to their main screen where students can choose another program to complete. So that is the Early Reading Trio series of 3 programs. Let's take a moment to see how you can change your settings for your students within the Early Reading Trio program. So in order to change your settings, the easiest way to do this is to go to the left-hand side under Quick Access and you will move down until you see the one that says Teacher Admin, and then you will move down to Settings. And once you click on Settings, you're going to come over and you are going to select Modules. It is the second tab that's right underneath Default Setting for all students. So what you can do is this. We're going to scroll down. You'll see the Math Program, ELA, Early Reading and Phonics. If you click on Early Reading and Phonics, you will go to Learning, because we're in the Learning tab of the program, and you will scroll down and look for Early Reading Trio, which is right here. You'll see some options come up. Currently, right now, we have all subjects linked, so students will complete all 3 components of the Early Literacy Trio at one time. If you wanted students to do those independently, you could choose this option. It defaults to here, and this is where I like to keep it, so they're doing all of those practices. You can adjust the amount of time that students are in the program a day. Perhaps you want them to do the Early Reading Trio for 5 minutes only. You can simply come in here and change that time. Early words, number of seconds required to answer the question correctly to be fluent. It defaults to 5 seconds. If you want students to have a little more time to be considered fluent, you could absolutely change that to 10 seconds, for example. Perhaps you have it at 10 seconds at the beginning of the year, but you change it to 5 seconds later in the year. You have the option to do that. And the number of words students should practice each day. We would go through that cycle 4 times because there are 5 words. But let's say I just want students to do 10 words a day. You could absolutely change the setting in there for the early words. You can also come down and make some changes within early stories. Again, you can change the fluency time. You can also change the amount of early stories. So let's say I want to change that to 3. You absolutely can do that. And early writing, the number of stories students should write each day. Let's say I wanted to also change that to 3. You have the ability to do that as well. You can also come down here and assign time. So you can go within your subjects and you can just assign time for one of these programs, or leave it at the default of 3. So within the program, you do have the option of changing the settings for all of the students within that program. You can also change your settings for an individual student. So you can come over here where it says individual student setting. I can choose my student that I want to change that setting with. And by clicking on that demo student, it now takes me over to this category, which is where we changed our settings for all students. I can come in here and I can find Early Reading Trio, and then I would be changing the settings for just that student who I logged in as demo student. So you can change your settings for one student or for your whole class, which is a great option to have. And it's just that easy to change your settings within the Early Reading Trio. I'm Robin Dixon, Pre-K through 5th grade ELA Social Studies consulting teacher, and it has been my pleasure to guide you through the Early Reading Trio program within MobyMax. Please do not hesitate to reach out with any other questions or concerns.